Okay, we are going to review slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. For question number 1, we want to solve for y. In order to do that, we need to subtract 3x on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and write that. We are subtracting 3x on both sides. The 3x's cross out, and we are left with 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 10. And then lastly, we want to divide both sides by 2 because right now the 2 and the y are being multiplied and the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So our final answer here is y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 10 over 2, right? 10 over 2 can be simplified to just 5. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and move to question number 2. Are the following lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? For this question, I want to solve both equations for y in y equals mx plus b form so that I can look at their slopes. So I'm going to write the first equation here again in red. And then I'm going to write the second one in green on the right-hand side. Okay, let's focus on the first equation and solve for y. So all we have to do really is divide all the terms by 3. Okay, so the 3's cross out on the left side, and on the right side we have 5 over 3x minus 15 divided by 3, which is really negative 5. So now my first equation is in y equals mx plus b form. Alright, let's do the same thing to the equation on the right side. So in order to get the right side equation into the y equals mx plus b form, we are going to subtract 10x on both sides. And we are going to divide both sides by 6. So here we have y is equal to negative 10 over 6x can be simplified to 5 over 3x. And then 20 divided by 6 can be simplified to 10 over 3. So 10 over 6 here, I can simplify it to 5 over 3, keeping in mind that they're still negative. If I divide the 10 and the 6 by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And also here, remember I'm sharing the love, right? Right here. And I was also sharing the love here, meaning that you have to remember to just divide all the terms by the denominator. So 20 divided by 6 is the same thing as 10 over 3 reduced. If you just divide the 20 by 2, you get 10, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Alright, so we are actually really curious to just see if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, right? And that lies in the slope being either the same, opposite reciprocals, or neither. So let's just take a look at the slope here, 5 over 3, and take a look at negative 5 over 3. Are they the same exact slope? Same number with the same sign? They're not, right? So they cannot be parallel lines because parallel lines need to have the same slope. Are they opposite reciprocal slopes? Well, let's try to recall what opposite reciprocal slopes mean. In order for this to find something that is opposite reciprocal slopes, then you would actually need the opposite sign. And also, the reciprocal means you're flipping your fraction. So this would be the opposite reciprocal slope. And so since negative 3 over 5 is not the same thing as negative 5 over 3, these are not opposite reciprocal slopes. And so our final answer is that they are neither. Okay. Question number 3 says find the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x minus 6 that goes through the point negative 4 comma 6. So what we want to do is first think about perpendicular lines. And so we kind of covered this before. In order for us to have perpendicular lines, we need opposite reciprocal slopes, right? And so right now in this new question, we're looking at the opposite reciprocal slope of 1/2. So from positive 1/2, we're going to have negative 2 over 1. So I'm changing my signs from positive to negative, and I'm flipping this fraction from 1/2 to 2 over 1. Okay, so my new equation should look like y equals negative 2 over 1, or just negative 2x minus 6. Now it has to go through the point, actually instead of minus 6, since it has to go through the point negative 4 comma 6, I actually don't know what my y-intercept is. So I'm going to write plus b. And what we're going to do here is we're going to plug in the values negative 4 comma 6. So wherever we see y, we're going to plug in a 6. And wherever we see x, we're going to plug in that negative 4. And here I'm going to solve for b, which is my y-intercept. Alright, so here we have 6 is equal to negative 2 times negative 4 is 8. So I have 8 plus b on my right side. And in order to get b by itself, I'm going to need to subtract 8 on both sides. So I get here that b is equal to negative 2. Now putting it all together, I have y is equal to, this stays the same here, negative 2x. And I just found out that my y-intercept is negative 2. So this is the line that is perpendicular to the line y equals 1/2 x minus 6. And it also goes through the point negative 4 comma 6. So some important notes that we want to take down is that lines that are parallel have the same slopes. Now lines that are perpendicular have opposite reciprocal slopes. Opposite meaning from positive to negative or negative to positive, and reciprocal means to flip the fraction. And if they don't have the same slopes or they don't have opposite reciprocal slopes, then it would just be neither. They would be neither parallel nor perpendicular. Okay, let's go through some practice questions. So practice question number 1 says, which equation represents a line parallel to the line whose equation is negative 2x plus 3y equals negative 4 and passes through the point 1, 3. Well, first I want to look at all my answer choices here, right? And I see that there are differences between signs here. And I also notice that there are differences in my slope here. And again in the signs here. Okay. And so if you guys remember, our slope-intercept form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And the m kind of stands for our slope, and the y1 and x1 stands for our x and y values. So what we want to do is basically plug in the x and y values. I don't know what the slope is yet, but I can find it by, again, solving for y here. So let's save that for later. First, I'm just going to plug in the value here. So I know the y is 3. And I know that the x is 1 over here. Okay, so automatically I can already eliminate answer choice 3 and 4 because I know that the format should be y minus 3 and x minus 1. Okay, so between option 1 and 2, I am now going to just find my slope, m. Let's find a slope here. Now, in order to find that slope, I'm going to have to solve for y here. So let me rewrite that. And I'm going to just add 2x on both sides. Now I'm going to have 3y is equal to 2x minus 4. And I'm going to divide every term by 3. Now I have the y is equal to 2/3 x minus 4/3. So I know that the slope here is really 2/3. So I'm going to replace this m with 2/3 because I just found out from start of solving for y that it's 2/3. And so my answer should have been option number 2. Okay. For practice question number 2, it says, what is the equation of a line passing through 2, -1 and parallel to the line represented by the equation y equals 2x plus 1? Now, I'm looking at parallel lines again, just like in my previous question. So I do want the same slope, right? So I'm looking for the same slope in my answer choices. So automatically I can cancel out options 1 and 2. Now I notice that the equation of this line needs to pass through this point here that I'm going to highlight in blue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my answer choices and I'm going to plug in the values 2, -1. So whenever I see y, I'm going to plug in -1. And whenever I see x, I'm going to plug in a 2. Okay, let's see what we end up getting. So on the left side, I have -1 is equal to. Now 4 minus 5 is going to be -1. Hey, that worked. Put a smiley face here. And let's check option number 4. So when y is -1 and when x is 2, what do we end up getting? I end up getting -1 on the left side, 4 minus 1 is 3, so that didn't quite work. So I know that my answer is option 3. Okay, practice question number 3. What is the equation of the line that passes through the point -9, 6 and is perpendicular? to the line y equals 3x minus 5. So here I am looking at perpendicular lines. So I need to then look at the 3 and find the opposite reciprocal slopes. So the opposite reciprocal slope of 3 is actually going to be negative 1/3, because the opposite sign of positive is negative, and then if I flip 3 over 1, I get 1/3. So negative 1/3 is going to be the slope for this perpendicular line. Okay, so immediately I can cross out option 1. I can cross out option 3. Now, in order to check to see if it's option 2 or 4, I'm going to plug in the values negative 9, 6. So whenever I see y, I'm going to plug in that 6. And whenever I see x, I'm going to plug in a negative 9. And let's see what we end up getting. Well, negative 1/3 times negative 9, that's going to give us 3. And 3 minus 3 is going to be 0. 6 is not equal to 0, so that doesn't quite work for option 2. Now, just to be sure, we're going to show work for option 4. So whenever I see y again, I'm going to plug in a 6. Whenever I see x, I'm going to plug in a negative 9. Okay, now I get 6 is equal to negative 1/3 times negative 9 will give me a positive 3. And what do we know? 6 is equal to 6. Now that works. So I just confirmed that is option 4. Okay, we are almost there. So practice question number 4 says, what is an equation of the line that passes through the point 2, 4 and is perpendicular to the line whose equation is 3y is equal to 6x plus 3. Now, it's perpendicular again, so we need to think about opposite reciprocal slopes again. Well, the issue here is that this equation given to us is not in y equals mx plus b form. So what we need to do is divide all the terms by 3, share the love on the right side, and now we're going to have y is equal to 6x divided by 3 is 2x, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So really I am looking at my slope of 2, and it's positive 2. So now I need to think about opposite reciprocal slopes because I need to find a perpendicular line. So from positive, I'm going to have a negative. And remember that there's an invisible 1 underneath that 2. So if I flip my fraction, I'm really going to get 1/2. So I'm really looking for a slope of negative 1/2. I'm going to cross out options 3 and 4 then, because the slopes here are 2, and we're really looking for a slope of negative 1/2. Okay, so whether or not it's option 1 or 2, we're going to have to show some work. So it says here that it passes through the point 2, 4. Wherever I see a y, I'm going to plug in a 4. And wherever I see an x, I'm going to plug in a 2. Great. Now 4 is equal to, on the right side, I have negative 1/2 of 2 is negative 1. And negative 1 plus 5 happens to be 4, so that works. But just in case, I'm going to try option 2. Because we always want to check our work, right? So y, I'm going to plug in that 4. And x, I'm going to plug in a 2. And here I see I have 4 is equal to, on the right side, I have negative 1/2 of 2 is negative 1 plus 4. And I know 4 is not equal to 3. So that doesn't work. So now I know that the correct solution is option 2. Okay, we have the last question here. Practice question number 5. Determine the state and equation of the line perpendicular to the line 5x minus 4y equals 10 and passing through the point 5, 12. So again, we need to solve for y so that we can get this equation here into y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to subtract my 5x on both sides. And I end up getting negative 4y is equal to negative 5x plus 10. And lastly, I'm going to divide all the terms by negative 4. So I'm going to be looking at y is equal to, I have a negative 5 divided by a negative 4. That gives me just positive 5 4x. And then I have 10 divided by negative 4. If I divide both the numerator and denominator by a 2, I can reduce 10 divided by a negative 4 into negative 5 over 2. So this is the equation I'm looking at. And really I want to focus on the slope. So this has a slope of 5 over 4. And I'm thinking about opposite reciprocal slopes. So from positive 5 over 4, if I want a line that is perpendicular to this line here, it will have a slope of negative 4 over 5. Notice how, again, I am switching the signs from positive to negative. They're opposite signs. And I'm flipping my fraction from 5 over 4 to 4 over 5. Okay, so I will be writing this as y is equal to negative 4 over 5x plus b. Now I need to solve for b. I don't know what my y-intercept b is. But I do have some points here, 5, 12, that I can plug into y and x. So wherever I see y, I'm going to plug in 12. And wherever I see x, I'm going to plug in that 5. Okay. Let's continue our work here. I have 12 on the left side. On the right side, negative 4/5 times 5 leaves me with negative 4 plus b. And to get b by itself, I am going to add 4 to both sides, so that the negative 4 and the positive 4 cancel out on the right side, and really b is equal to 16. We are so close to the finish line. So we have our y-intercept and we have our slope. Now can we put it all together? Of course we can. So our final answer is y is equal to negative 4/5 x plus 16. This is the line that is perpendicular to the line that was given, which was, when we solved it, y equals 5/4 x minus 5 over 2. And it also passes through the point 5, 12. Sorry, 2x.